it going, everyone? Today on TFL Bike, well, you can guess where we are. We're in San Francisco, and Ducati brought us out here so that we could ride this. This is the new Ducati Monster. It's got a bigger motor, it weighs less, and today we're gonna be checking it out, riding all around the city, so let's do it. Now that I've had the chance to ride the Ducati Monster, I want to talk about the 5 best and the 5 worst things that I've been able to figure out about it. So let's get into it. The best thing about the new Monster is something that you notice pretty much right away, and that is this motorcycle's size and weight. Total curb weight on this bike is 414 pounds, and that's a total of about 40 pounds less than the previous generation Monster. Now, a lot of that weight came out of this new 937cc L-twin engine. Not only is this engine bigger, the previous model had 821 cc's, but it makes a bit more power and it's actually lighter. So are the wheels, so is the chassis, and yeah, this bike loses the trellis frame that the old model had, but this front frame that is inspired by the aluminum frame on the Panigale V4, you guessed it, it weighs less. The next best item on the Ducati Monster is its handling. Because this motorcycle is so lightweight and it's so compact, it really hooks around the corners. The third best item on the new Monster is this 937cc L-twin engine. It's got individual throttle bodies, of course it's liquid cooled, and it has desmodromic valves. The valve maintenance is only every 18,000 miles, so you don't have to bring it in constantly. And the total power output is 111 horsepower and 69 pound-feet of torque. And this bike does feel very torquey, but you can tone it back. And that leads me into the next best thing about this bike. That would be the tech. To navigate this screen, you use this dial to move up and down through the top menu, and you press on the center of the turn signal switch in order to actually select items. So right now I'm on setting menu. If I click and hold on the turn signal switch, it will bring me into my different riding modes. Now right here you can see I'm in sport mode. The engine is set high, traction control is set low, as is ABS and wheelie control. But if I flip down to touring, the engine is set to medium, which still gives you full power, but it reduces your throttle response. Traction control, ABS, and wheelie control are on higher settings, and if I click down to urban, the engine is set to low, which limits you to 75 horsepower rather than 111. But if I click here to riding modes, I can actually go through and change all the individual settings. So if I want my urban setting, which usually has reduced engine power, to have the maximum engine power and throttle response, I can do that. The Ducati makes it pretty easy to switch between your riding modes even while you're moving. Once you've selected the mode, you close the throttle for a moment and you're good to go. Now, as you saw from those different riding modes, this motorcycle has wheelie control, traction control. It also has cornering ABS. It's got launch control. It's got quick shift up and down. And pretty much all of that is selectable. You can choose from 3 different ABS settings. You've got 8 different traction control settings. So there is tons of adjustability even outside of just those 3 riding modes. That being said, this is definitely not a multi-strada when it comes to tech, so you've still got an old school blade style key, nothing too fancy, no proximity key, but it does have all LED lighting and even self-canceling turn signals. Now, one of the most important things that I've found is great about this motorcycle is the riding position. Ducati has made this new Monster very narrow in the middle where your legs go, and that makes it really easy to get your feet on the ground. So even if you're not a super tall rider, for example, I'm 5'10", you're not going to find it that difficult to keep this bike upright, which makes it more approachable for new riders. Now, currently this standard model has a seat height of 32.3 inches, and that's not too bad. But if you're maybe a little vertically challenged, you can also modify the suspension and the seat with Ducati accessories to drop that seat height down to 30.5 inches, making it super easy to fit on this bike. Now, the first of my dislikes is this factory exhaust, and it's not because it's especially ugly or anything. It's really not a bad looking exhaust. But when I flip it on, granted, not a terrible sounding motor, but I know it's got so much more to give. I think with an aftermarket exhaust, like a couple of the units that Ducati is offering as accessories, this would be a way better sounding bike and it would be a lot more fun to ride. My next dislike with the new Ducati Monster are these turn signals, specifically the US spec turn signals. These ones stick out like they do on so many bikes, and it really looks out of place in this otherwise very sleek design. Now, if you look closely, this whole turn signal piece has kind of an odd way of mounting to the tank. That's because the Eurolight doesn't have this whole stock that sticks out. Rather, the Eurolight is integrated into here, so you can tell that this turn signal is more of an afterthought. But because the Eurolights light up sequentially, they're not street legal. In the US, the manufacturer cannot produce the bike that way. So for the time being, this is what we're stuck with. Next up on the list of drawbacks comes down to highway stability. Because this is a lightweight and tossable bike, it's definitely not the most stable on the highway, especially in heavy wind. That being said, it's got plenty of passing power, and you can really go whatever speed you need to. It's just not as comfortable as a lot of bigger bikes. The next item on the list of drawbacks comes as no surprise, and that would be the price. Because this is a Ducati and it is a more premium motorcycle, it comes in at $11,895, and that's definitely more expensive, and considerably so, than a lot of this motorcycle's competition. The Yamaha MT-09 starts at $9,399 and offers very similar performance. Now, the fifth and final drawback of this motorcycle, or my fifth and final dislike, is that I don't own one. It's the truth. I really had a great time on this motorcycle today. The power, the handling, the size and the weight of it, the fit and the finish, the tech, the total package. It is a great bike, and I highly recommend, if you're looking in this class of motorcycles, you should give this one a look. Anyways, that's all for this video. Be sure to go back to tflbike.com for more news, views, and real-world reviews. And if you want more of those technical specs like I mentioned earlier in this video, and to hear about pretty much everything that's going on with this new design, check out the other video on the Ducati Monster that is up on our channel.